Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. This is FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, the FPL guy, and I'm joined by Dean Jones, Football Insider. Dean, how are you on this Saturday bright morning outside? Loving it.
Yeah, it was really bright actually a minute ago, and then I was outside and it just started to pour down, so I quickly ran inside. But it was good timing because this show was about to start. But yeah, I'm good. Better than Pep Guardiola probably. That was the ultimate misery for him, wasn't it? And what a mess! What a mess that the last 2 minutes were of that game. To be honest, though, it sums up City for me. Like I've said it,
yeah, you have
weeks and weeks and weeks. I do not trust this team to get over the line. I don't trust their mentality. I don't think the fans believe. I don't think that team truly believes that they're great and that they can get things done. And it's weird. It's weird that like things that have happened in the past count for so much in moments like that. Like the way that Liverpool and Real Madrid turned around those fixtures in the second leg is all about mentality and belief. It was nothing about football on the day, really. It was just about mindset. And, you know, Villarreal, fair play to them, like put up a good fight in that second leg. But for a team like City, happened to PSG too, those clubs that are so good just don't have that, I don't know whether it's heritage or whatever it is. They just don't quite believe they can do it. And this is the time when it matters. Look, we're now looking at a situation where Man City might end the season with nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Can you imagine?
Do you think we see that
ahead? Big weekend ahead.
The Premier League is now everything, obviously, for City. It's effectively cliche to say it, 4 cup finals for them. But knowing they had 120 minutes, and look, later on in the show, we've got our Dean's predicted 11s. We're going to be looking at City's predicted 11, but we think we'll probably end up seeing a little bit of rotation. We're going to have to. But 4 big games, you've said since for a few months, you think Liverpool can still win the title. And they've shown kind of with your Champions League predictions that Liverpool have the edge in those big games. Do you think City drop points?
I think this is the weekend. I said it. We did a podcast. We recorded on Tuesday ahead of that City performance. And I said, you know, this is the defining weekend of what happens because Liverpool play tonight, 7:45 UK time. Yeah. They get that chance to go top of the Premier League. They beat Tottenham and they're top. And then Man City have to go into a game against Newcastle tomorrow. Okay, it's at home. Yes, they should win it. But they'll be feeling slightly fragile, slightly massively like they've got something to prove. But maybe it doesn't work for them. And if it doesn't, and they do drop points this weekend, then that is it. I do not see Liverpool then letting them back in it. So massive weekend. Let's see. Liverpool need to get that win tonight because it's not an easy game that either. Tottenham will be up for it, but I think Liverpool get it done. Saturday night game at Anfield. You don't get those. Like that's going to be ridiculous.
That could be goals galore tonight, couldn't it? I think Spurs and Liverpool both score, and I'm going to be asking you later. I'm going to be revealing my team, guys, and I'm looking at bringing a Liverpool player into my team, and it has a lot to do with that third Liverpool spot. Who we think is going to be in the 11s, and Dean's going to be putting together his 11 for you guys. So stay tuned with us for the next hour. What else have we got coming up in the today's show? We got fresh off the press. Dean's going to be looking back at some of the stories of the week. Obviously mentioned Pep Roulette. Predictions for City, Liverpool and Chelsea starting 11s. Then we've got our teams. Dean's on a bench boost. I'm on a free hit next week. So it's a really interesting time for both of us. And then we've got against the obvious as well. We're going to be picking some players that, might be quite controversial, telling you guys not to pick them. And as always, guys, we're interacting with you. So get your questions in. Loads of you are watching. If you're new around here, please give us a like, give us a subscribe, and get your questions in. Peter's already in. Peter, I don't think we've seen you before. Do hit that subscribe button. Good morning. I currently have James, Mount and Havertz, and I think that's a bit rich on Chelsea. I've considered taking Havertz out and Mount out for Saka and Diaz. You're free hit 37. Okay, Peter, I'm on 3 Chelsea. I'm also on free hit 37. My 3 Chelsea are James, Alonso, Havertz. I don't think I'm selling any of them. What do you think, Dean? They've had a week off. I think that Leeds game in the week, we'll see a little bit of rotation ahead of the cup final, but I still think Chelsea need momentum. I think players like Alonso and Mount, they start both games.
Yeah, I
almost
think so.
Certainly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we're going to focus on actually when we get to the predicted lineups, like just kind of focusing on players that actually we can trust to start in both these games and whether there are any. But Chelsea's one of those that you'd imagine, they need to turn around the feeling within that team. They need to have a strong end to the season. They've had a turbulent month or so. Look, news today that the takeover is going through, and that's a big positive for Chelsea, because it means they can start to move on with other things and start to look towards next season. But ultimately, the players that are there right now, half of them seem to want to leave, and half of them seem to be up for sale if they don't perform. So we're looking at a big turnover potentially in the summer, and Chelsea need to end well. Like, there's still a possibility they don't finish third. Like, that's how badly things have gone. Yeah. So the wheels can't fall off totally here. Leeds-Chelsea is a big rivalry historically. They could help send Leeds down. I think they'll be up for it.
And it's at Ellen Road as well. So Leeds are going to be firing on all cylinders. That's a huge game midweek. Like, Chelsea-Wolves is a nice FPL fixture for Chelsea. We saw Brighton score 3 against... Brighton don't score 3 against many teams. They went to Molineux and scored 3. Wolves looked done. So I think Chelsea could go big today, which is why I like these as FPL assets. Leeds, I just don't know what we're going to get. If we're going to get a huge rotation, if we're going to get a massive performance at Ellen Road from Leeds at the bottom of the table, trying to survive. But just for the Wolves fixture alone, I think you hold your Chelsea assets. Dean, I think we should move on. There's been loads to talk about in the footballing world. We've got some topical subjects. So let's have a look at Fresh Off the Press. Okay, so before we get into our in-depth FPL analysis with Pep Roulette and our team reveals, this is Fresh at the Press. So we're looking at some of the stories of the week just gone, using Dean's insider info to try and get a steer with a view to contracts and transfers and things like that. And look, we're going to start, as we always do with Fresh Off the Press, at Old Trafford. And we're going to start with Jay Lings, Jesse Lingard. He was such a good FPL asset last year, Dean, when he went to West Ham. And us FPL managers really wanted a loan move again in January. Was he going to go Newcastle or West Ham? Because he's just such a good option, such a cheap midfielder when he's starting games in a small team where he can be the big fish, smaller team. What do we think? Where are we going to see Jesse Lingard next year? And wherever we see him, I'm guessing he'll be an FPL option again.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do think there's a small possibility he goes abroad, because I think there's interest there, and I think he's at a stage of his career, when he can think about, getting out of this environment that he's been stuck in, and probably sees somebody like Tammy Abraham go to Roma, born again, and having the time of his life. He's in the Europa Conference League final under Jose Mourinho. The Roma fans take to him as a hero. And it's kind of what Jesse was at West Ham for a little bit. But you see, like, go into a club that kind of size in Italy or Germany or Spain, like, Jesse could really thrive. So I think that in his mind, he's going to weigh up those offers if they do come. But if he stays here, it's West Ham, or it's Aston Villa, or it's Newcastle. It's one of those, that tier is where he's going. It's fine. Like, it's absolutely fine. I think he would thrive. And I think that he'd be one of the bigger names in that team. And for me, like, Aston Villa haven't really been mentioned too much with Jesse Lingard, but I was thinking about it the other day, and they want a creator. If they want a talisman and also want somebody that's been there and done it in the Premier League, why not? Yeah. Why wouldn't you go down that path? I mean, they're having to make a big decision at the moment over Coutinho, because he hasn't been in great form and he's costing a lot of money in wages and a fee. Jesse would probably command pretty high wages, but no actual transfer fee, just a signing on fee. So I think they'll come into the consideration. I think Newcastle are most strongly in for Jesse Lingard at this stage. But then they might actually go for Coutinho if Aston Villa don't sign him. So I think those two's pathways will probably play into each other over the next couple of months. But weird. I kind of thought that Ten Hag might give Jesse Lingard a chance, if I'm totally honest. He's not a terrible footballer, and you can kind of do with some players that have been in and around that club, even back to when the changes were happening and remembering what United used to feel like. But it doesn't seem that way, because if Rangnick's freezing him out, then he would have checked with Ten Hag and been like, this is the situation, you cool with it?
Ten Hag could come in and give so many players a second, third or fourth chance. That the squad's so big, isn't it? They look at the likes of Rashford and it's like, okay, he could give Rashford another chance, but somewhere you've got to draw the line. But let's move on from Old Trafford and go to the Emirates. Arteta, new contract, Arsenal playing very well again. Top 4 looks probably more likely than not, although look, it's still in Spurs' hands too. What do we think with the Arteta new deal?
It's good news, I think. I mean, the club have had a vision under Arteta. They've backed him through some really bad times. Arsenal going into a period of the season where they're in command to finish in fourth, and they've given the manager the perfect pick-me-up. Like, here you go. Here's a new contract for you. If you don't finish fourth, you will still be our manager. And for Arsenal, it's all about progress from here. They've seen that what Arteta's trying to build is starting to come together, and they will go and spend again. Let's not forget, they spent £150 million last year. Yeah. This year, we'll see at least that spent again, because this is a side that's going to have European football. And this year, Arsenal didn't have that. And that's helped them obviously get composure again and reset and find a structure that worked with the team. But now they need to add some big assets and some also backup assets. So I think we'll be looking at 5 signings, I reckon, for Arsenal in the summer.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we see numbers, which I think they need, because you're right, European football, the squad size, but also Arsenal do need quality as well as quantity. So those signings, which ones are going to break the bank? Maybe there's 2 or 3 big ones, and then a couple of sort of more squad players in there.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's look, the biggest story of the week for me is Stamford Bridge. We're the takeover at Chelsea. There's been a lot of talk at Stamford Bridge, which is, are we seeing a dip in performance because Tuchel's having some personal issues, or is it because of players' contracts, or is it because of the takeover? I don't quite know, but something obviously hasn't been right on the pitch for Chelsea. But this could give them a little bit of bounce this week. So I think we've got a couple of questions about Chelsea. But what's your take, Dean? Do we see a little bit of a bounce? We often talk about new manager bounce. What about new ownership bounce?
Well, they need it because they've been in such poor form. And I think that, the whole situation about Abramovich wouldn't have helped them. There was always that possibility that it brings everybody together. I think that's what Tuchel aimed for. He wanted unity and togetherness to pull them through and have an us against the world mentality.
Yeah,
it really worked for them too well. And now's the time for some of their big players to step up again and end this season strongly. Also an opportunity for players like Lukaku when they get the opportunity to score goals. I mean, Tuchel's trying to say that he's got plans for Lukaku at Chelsea. I'm not convinced about that. I don't think Lukaku's convinced about that. One of the first things that happens on the back of this takeover is that Lukaku has talks about his future to see whether he can stay. But ultimately, I'd say it's 75% likely that he has to go if you can find somebody to pay him. So it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, massive problems with contracts too, and players leaving. Even Alonso, being talked about joining Barcelona now. It seems like everybody from Chelsea is joining Barcelona in the summer. Let's see how many end up leaving. Could be 5 first teamers maybe end up leaving Chelsea this summer. Then some squad players. That's a big overhaul, and it's pretty dangerous too. I'm not convinced that the new owners can have that same input financially as Abramovich ever did, because all eyes are going to be on this. All eyes will be on it. And they also won't have the same kind of money available as Abramovich has done at times. So very interesting, a new era, new excitement, but let's set new expectations too, because it's not going to be quite like the old days.
Yeah, Chelsea fans are going to have to get used to not being able to just dip into that transfer market and have any player you want, pretty much. We were Abramovich's toy for a very, very long time, and that's not going to happen again under new ownership. Desira's got a question on Salah's contract situation. Salah, who spoke so well in the week post-match after Villarreal to talk about chasing numbers, which I loved hearing. I think he said something like he was really happy with his assists, he's hit his target, but goals, he wanted 40 goals this season, and he's going for it. And I think he's on to around 30. So all competitions, obviously. So he's looking at those numbers. He's spoken lots about still wanting to look at those individual awards. Standout captain this week again. Loads have got triple captain. Salah, obviously you go there if you've got your triple captain. Contract situation though, it's been going on a while, isn't it?
It has, yeah, but I think we are over the panic stage now. I think that the way that Salah's behaving and acting, the way that Liverpool are relaxed, the fact Jurgen Klopp signed a new contract, the fact that they've just produced that performance to get into another Champions League final, there's not really any reason for him to leave right now, because especially as Barcelona and Real Madrid can't sign him, they've not got the money to do so and aren't really interested in him as a priority right now. I guess if Kylian Mbappe is due to make his decision end of this month, start of June, on whether he is staying at PSG or Real Madrid, I fully expect him to be joining Real Madrid. But if that decision was a shock one and he was like, I'm actually staying at PSG, Then, if the contract's not signed, then I think there's a possibility you're suddenly like, no. And Real Madrid are like, okay, let's get Mo Salah then. I think that's the only way that Mo Salah actually does end up leaving Liverpool at this point.
Interesting. Yeah, we would not want him leaving our FPL game, that's for sure. John,
make it more interesting. At least we'd all have a different captain.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. And look, next season, there's been a lot of talk in the community that they might look to. There's no doubt FPL are going to make changes to the game. We've had loads of clues from the questionnaires they've sent out and stuff. I think there could be a few sort of reclassification of players, and it'll be really interesting to see if some of those wide forwards, like a Salah, become forwards. But I don't know, maybe players that play wide, they'll be hesitant. But the likes of Jota and Mane, who often play as a number 9, possibly even Foden, although he's been playing wide a bit of late, these guys could become forwards. And if Salah was a forward, it'd be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be. That's true.
John, thanks for coming back, John. Good to see you again this week. Guys, remember, every Monday and Friday, usually at 7 p.m, we're live. A little bit different this morning because of the extended deadline. So we've gone Saturday morning instead of Friday night. But catch us again on Monday at 7. Are Palace likely to cash in on Zaha? I mean, every summer we talk about Zaha possible moves, but that contract is ticking down and now does seem the time, Dean. What do you think? And Vieira's also spoken about perhaps using him as a number 9 in the with a sort of run-in in mind, which for me, who's free hitting in the game week 37 when Palace have a double, Zaha's a shoo-in for my free hit team, especially if he plays up front. But what do we think? Will he be around next year? And where could we see him going? It linked heavily with Arsenal 2 years ago before they got Pepe.
Yeah, I don't think he'll go Arsenal. Again, I think he's a player that quite fancies moving abroad. I could see him somewhere like Dortmund, to be honest. I'd love to see him somewhere like that. Like, that would be awesome. It'd be good for him, and I think it would be a good fit too. Premier League-wise, I'm just not convinced that the level of club he wants to get to, he'll ever get to.
Yeah,
he's tried for years and years. Obviously, he had that spell at Man United that didn't work out. But he's back at Palace. It just seems like it's the place for him. So I personally think he'll still stay at Crystal Palace, but I do know that the people working for him are putting the feelers out there, let's say, to see if they can find a bigger club for him to end his career at.
Yeah, that'll be a really interesting development. And I'm with you. I think Dortmund would be an amazing fit. I remember a couple of years ago, he was really heavily linked with Everton as well. And I always wondered what that move would be like. I think Balassi went to Everton. And then 6 months later, it was like, Zaha can follow him. The two tricky wide men at Palace. Maybe Everton would be in a different position with him. I don't know. If he's quite that good, though. As you say, like, he's always been off that top tier, isn't he?
Just hasn't quite made it. It's just a bit too inconsistent, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly that. I'm with you. Guys, we've got a couple of yes or no questions coming up. So let's have a look at where they're from. So Eddie, hi Dean, are Arteta looking at Rashford for around 45 million? I hope not. I'm a United fan. You want Rashford to be great again, Eddie? You might be waiting a while, my friend. I don't know. I'm not his biggest fan. Lovely bloke. In terms of elite footballer, I'm not so sure. But Dean, what do you think?
They are looking at him. That's 100% true. Will they get him? I'm not so sure, because United have got to sign so many players already. I'm not sure they can afford to sell Rashford and replace him, as well as replace Cavani and Greenwood. I don't think Ronaldo will go, but you never know. That could happen late in the window. If you just can't ever totally rule that out. So they already need 2 forwards. Losing Rashford doesn't seem a good idea to me. I think you're better off trying to fix him than sell him at this point. So I think he'll still be around.
Guys, we've got lots of FPL chat coming up, so stay with us. We have got Pep Roulette. We're looking at players that are going to play twice in a double. That is absolutely key for 36. We're going to see Dean's bench boost team. We're going to have my team reveal. And we're taking your questions as well as against the obvious, all in the next 30 minutes. So stay with us. But first, quick question. We're using Dean's Insight here. Dean's got great contacts at clubs when we're talking summer transfers and stuff like that. He is the go-to guy to be speaking to. So, Tammy Abraham, firing on all cylinders in Rome. I mean, I'm sure he's very, very happy. I can't see him leaving, Dean. But in terms of a buyback, where are Chelsea with this? Because we know they've sold a lot of talent over the years, some with buybacks, others without buybacks. The likes of Livramento went to Southampton last summer on quite a modest fee, around 10 million, I think. But I think there's a 30 million buyback there. They often do this. What's the situation with Tammy? He went for around 30, didn't he?
Yeah. There is a buyback in there, but it doesn't kick in for another year. So it'll be the next summer. So this year, like that, they can't just buy him back because they've got a clause in there. That wouldn't surprise me if in a year's time Chelsea do go back. Like then they're one club that aren't afraid to do that. But yeah, let's see. Like Tammy's loving it in Rome right now. Don't think he really wants to go back, and he might have also seen Lukaku try to go back and prove himself, and that backfire. So I think like once you've found yourself in a nice path, like maybe Italy is just a great fit for that for certain strikers, and like if that's the case, stick with it, be successful there. Don't come back and then tarnish your reputation again. So no buyback at the moment, but yes, there is one that kicks on in a year or so.
Good stuff. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Loads of new people on this morning's stream. Look, we don't usually do them so close to the deadline, do we? So if you're new around here, this is FPL Insight. We do a show on a Monday and usually a Friday, always at 7 p.m, other than this week where we've gone a little bit later. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. But look, without further ado, let's get on to Pep Roulette. Favorite time of the week. Favorite time of the week. We're going to be looking this week at Pep Roulette slightly differently because we're looking at players we think will play both games or perhaps won't play both games. Look, many are on a free hit. Those that are on free transfers. Of course, we're targeting those with 2 fixtures. But 2 fixtures are only brilliant if they play both games. So where does that leave us, team? What are we thinking?
I think it's going to be really, really tough to see too many players starting both games. I mean, City too, we've got to now consider the fact that they've had to go through extra time. So it's tricky. Let's just really consider the ones that people are going to have. KDB is one that I guess a lot of people will own. I'll be amazed if he didn't start both those games.
Yeah. And he had a bit of a rest, didn't he? Coming off at 70. Pep said it was tactical.
Rested him for the most important moment of the season. So he's fresh. So that's good. So KDB, I think, yes. I think he starts both. Foden is one I'm interested in, mainly because I own him.
Yeah, and me too.
I was confident. No, I don't think he'll start both.
I don't now.
I did, and now I don't.
120 minutes of Foden. All those other front 3 players, Jesus, Mahrez, they came off. Sterling came on. Grealish came on. KDB even went off. Foden got 120. And I just look at it and think, I don't think Foden... The annoying thing for Foden, and Milan, I'm going to get to your question in a sec on Chelsea. The annoying thing on Foden is the game you want him to play is at home, the home game against Newcastle. Going to Wolves, City historically have struggled against Wolves. And that's the game I think Foden starts. I think I'm selling Foden this week, which is I didn't think I'd be doing.
Oh,
yeah. I think I might be. Let's look at Chelsea first. So, look, who's more nailed, Alonso or James, says Milan? I mean, Chelsea left-back options are slim. I think Alonso starts both. Alonso. And James probably gets a 90 and a 30 or possibly a 90 and a 60. But I think Alonso could get a 90 and an 80, you know?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, I think Chelsea, like I say, they've got a cup final to consider too, but they need to play themselves form. Like Alonso, he's the only left back, so no matter what, they're going to play him. So I think Alonso, if you get your teams together right now, try to get Alonso in if you can. He's definitely going to be a good asset over those 2 games. Havertz, I've still got him. And I actually do think he'll play both games.
Me too.
I do.
Me too, I think.
I'm quietly confident too that he's going to pay us back with some goals now. Feel like it needs to happen.
Those that got on him for the doubles of a few weeks back, haven't been rewarded at all.
No.
Tuchel said about Lukaku yesterday, didn't he? He was asked about Lukaku, who didn't feature off the bench the other day against Everton. And he said, maybe he'll start tomorrow. And loads have taken that as Lukaku starting tomorrow. All Tuchel said was maybe Lukaku will start tomorrow. He could have said maybe he won't. Like, I personally don't think he starts. And even if he did out of nowhere, it would be still Havertz in that team. Like Werner and Pulisic and Ziyech haven't done enough to warrant a start necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sounds to me like a throwaway press conference quote. Like, don't pay too much attention to that. I wouldn't. But I've been wrong before. I could be wrong again.
Let's answer lots of these questions with do they start both in a double in mind then, rather than go through team by team? So Panda Bear, who is the better option out of Alonso, Laporte, or Diaz for free hit 36? I think Alonso's got the highest ceiling because I think that Wolves game could be a 20-pointer for a James or an Alonso. Laporte and Diaz, who would your preference be? I mean, Diaz has obviously had injury issues. Laporte has been the main man at centre-back for City this season. Wasn't last, has been this. So Laporte would probably be my standout of the two if you already got Cancelo, for example. But I'd still go Alonso over both.
Yeah, I think it's a toss-up because I think Ake might feature. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which partnership. I don't think it'll be that partnership for both games, Laporte Diaz.
Yeah.
So I find that really hard, and I'd be not sure I'd be gambling on it. Like if you were picking right now a free hit out of those three players, you have to pick Alonso, surely.
Yeah, the rewards are there for goals and assists as well. You don't get that with Laporte and Diaz.
You don't know. Like it's a strange pick to me. Like, get Cancelo in by all means, but those two, maybe even get Zinchenko.
Yeah.
Because Kyle Walker's obviously got injured again. So yeah, I would steer clear.
Desire, I love this question. I think Mount starts both games. Like the Chelsea assets, I'm confident FPL assets of starting both games would be Alonso, Mount, Rudiger if you've still got him. Yeah. Havertz and Reece James, I still think could start both, but might see a little bit of, they might come off early, or you wouldn't be surprised if it was a 90 and a 30. But Mount, Alonso, I think we're pretty safe. These are durable players that can play 3 times a week, that haven't picked up many injuries this season. They can start both. Foden, on the other hand, he's one of the few Man City attacking players, maybe even the only one that got 120 minutes at the other night. All the other attackers came off. I think Foden's probably due a rest off the back of that. I think he's absolutely key to Pep's system, but I think he starts the Wolves game and perhaps gets 30 against Newcastle. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's still not the end of the world because I could still see him scoring in that time or assisting. Like, I don't think that. Don't make your decision just on the fact that some of these players might not start both games, but think of like the fact, are they likely to feature? And if they do, like how long for and what's that impact going to be in those games? And Foden, we know, like is a big impact player. I do wonder like how much the players that were on the pitch at the end of that game, or at least when those 2 goals went in, were affected by it. Foden was obviously one of those. Like, I don't think it was great from an English point of view that like we had like Sterling and Foden, Grealish living through moments like that. Like this is just such an English mentality that we're seeing time and time again. So that was my selfish way of taking in those moments. But yeah, I think that might be something to consider too. Grealish is an interesting one. I do think he'll start one of those games.
Yeah,
and I think he'll really want to prove a point too. He did do well. That's the thing. Like everyone's talking about, well, he missed 2 chances. Did he miss 2 chances, or did he create and like have some really bad luck?
Yeah,
like it was a great block off the line and save. Like he was so unlucky. Like actually, both moments were quite brilliant, to be honest.
So he's due a start.
I think Grealish will probably start this game instead of Foden, and then the next one maybe Foden starts.
Yeah, I'm with you. CH, who has got really early for this stream. Thank you, CH. I think you said it was like 5 a.m. at the start of this stream, wherever you are in the world. I'm guessing you're somewhere sort of US way. Let us know where you are, CH. Who's the better downgrade to fund 2 free transfers for bench boost? Look, Robertson, as much as we love him in FPL, and guys, there's 189 of you watching. Thank you. Do give us a like because that helps more people see the channel. So just hit that like button for us if you can. Robertson's an interesting one. All the other big Liverpool assets have been getting rests. At the moment, Mane and Robertson look like they're most due a rest. If you look at the amount of big, important players. Salah's missed a game. Trent's missed a game. Klopp spoke about Robbo perhaps needing a rest and then not wanting to rest 3 of his back 4 the same week. So he rest, I think, Matip and Trent together, but didn't want to leave Robbo out. So I think Tsimikas definitely plays one of these football matches. I think you probably don't want to play Tsimikas against Spurs. You probably give him the Aston Villa game and then Robbo's fit for the cup final. So with that in mind, you might only get a single game week out of Robertson, and it might be a Spurs game where they're probably fancied to score. So I would be downgrading Robertson, which sounds crazy because he's been so good. But you could always bring him back for game week 38 if you want him, or 37 if you want him. I'd probably downgrade there. Make sure you got a good bench boost. That's a chip you want to utilize.
Yeah, absolutely. That we'll talk about mine in a minute because I still might have one more change to make up my sleeve. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what advice these guys are going to give me too.
Good stuff. We're going to be showing our teams. So let's have a look at our team reveals. Just having a little giggle actually, because Tansif has.
I was just reading that. Yeah,
Tansif's saying about my love for Foden and perhaps betraying him. Look, he's been in and out my team a lot this season, but I have owned him for every goal or assist he's had this season. So I'm selling him at the right times. But first, let's have a look at Dean's team, because Dean, you've also got Foden, and you're also, more importantly, on a bench boost. You've got a lot of doublers. Have you made any transfers yet on this team, and what are your plans?
Yeah, so Pickford's in for De Gea.
Nice move.
So he's in, and that was on the back of his performance last time out. Everton got 2 games there that's so important to them. I was hoping Leicester might be in the Europa final, but obviously they're not. Still, I'm not too concerned about that game. Watford not concerned about either. Pickford making a lot of saves too, so happy with him, especially as Foster's my other goalkeeper. So I've got 4 goalkeeper performance. Look, my bench. This is the thing. It's my bench boost, obviously, and I'm not entirely happy with my subs. Is my main problem. 2 of them don't have a double, and both of those players, I'm not sure, are going to score more than 2 points. So,
you got any money in the bank?
Good question.
I'm just because Amarty's great for squads. Like, it's okay. You're going to get one performance out of Amarty. You take it. He might get a clean sheet in one of those against Everton and Norwich.
Yeah, I've got 0.3 in the bank, so not a lot to play with.
So Broja is the only one where I'm like, oh, okay, he's a little bit more money, and it could be a 1-pointer.
Yeah.
So Broja. So we're looking for forwards that might tick the kind of sub 6 million box.
Yeah,
which I guess it's fairly slim.
It is slim. Like
Watford lads.
Yeah, so we got just quickly looking is like Vidra, Mateta, Origi, Gelhardt, Barnes, like
Welbeck.
Yeah, there's not a slim pickings here. Like there's not a lot to go for. I mean, the most in form is Vidra,
who does have a double next week. Vidra, and J Rod's injured, isn't he?
Yeah, that's interesting. That is a good point. Considering him for next week, especially as I do have Roberts as well with that in mind. That's why I've kept hold of him is for that game week. So that could be a good shout. I mean, Broja's not going to score, is he? Like,
no, he's not, and he's probably only going to. He's either going to get 60 or 30. And look, Desira's made a great point. What about Nketiah? We forget Nketiah's the starting 9 now at Arsenal. If he has a bad game against Leeds, sure, he could be dropped, but Lacazette's not been getting game time. Nketiah's been shooting a lot. His XG has been way above Lacazette's, and he's got a double.
True, yeah. That is true. Let me.
So your 4-point hit is justified through appearance minutes alone, pretty much, because Broja say 1 point and Nketiah an additional 3. It's worth the hit for that alone, I think.
I think you might have something here. I think you might have something there. Might have to do that. Might have to do it.
Yeah, Peter's a fan of that idea as well, by the looks of it. Guys, this is why the chat's so important to us.
Yeah.
I like Dennis, but yeah, I think Watford goals, you just don't want to, you can't back Watford to score big, and you probably think Arsenal are going to have far more opportunities to score.
Are Arsenal going to score? I don't know.
Against Leeds at home, you expect goals, surely. Chasing the top 4. Garav's asked about Richarlison.
But yeah.
What about Richarlison? Is he an option for you, Dean? Because Werner, he's got a double. Richarlison has a double. You know he plays both. And you also know Richarlison will play twice next week.
Yeah, that's true. I find Richarlison really hard to judge at the moment. He has started to obviously bring in some points. He's got an 8 and a 7 in the last 3 game weeks. He's got a little flag by him. He says 75% chance of playing. I'm sure in this kind of state that Everton are in, he's going to play. Yeah. They have got a nice, this is the thing with Everton's end to the season. Like their last 5 games are Leicester, Watford, Brentford, Palace, and then Arsenal. Like if you're in a scrap, you take that. You do take that. And let's face it, like the reason I've got picked, the reason I think Everton stay up, I think Leeds are going to go down, is that I'm comparing like the difference makers. And for me, like having Pickford in goal and Richarlison up front is better than anything. Like Mellier's fine for Leeds, but up front, no Bamford, no Partey. Like there's nothing happening there. So, Richarlison is one I probably would consider.
No pillow, no party t-shirt is on show this morning.
Look at that. I didn't even know you had that on. That was funny.
Captaincy, Dean. Salah, you're pretty set. I mean, you like going as your default captain most of the time with Salah. I mean, this is a week you just keep it on him, surely. He's had a rest as well. He's chasing records. Goals in both games there. Tottenham.
Goals in both games here. KDB, look, not the worst shout in the world, like at a time when City have to produce results. I said before, I think that KDB does start both games. Pep won't be taking him off again either, even if they are in front, I don't think. So, and KDB is, the way that he's moving and progressing with the ball is so much more aggressive, it looks to me. And I just feel like if they're determined to get something done, in a game like this, particularly against Newcastle, like KDB could have a field day in that fixture. Like Newcastle are much improved, but they're still obviously nowhere near Man City. So, not a bad shout, but it is a gamble.
KDB, the way he has been carrying the ball has really caught the eye for me as well. I watched the Belgium-Italy quarter-final performance from the Euros the other day. That was the best game of the Euros for me. And KDB was amazing. Italy is the best Italy played and had to be in the top of their game. But KDB, you watched how many times he carried the ball from the edge of his 18-yard box to the opponent's 18-yard box. 3 or 4 times, put Lukaku in a couple of times, and we're starting to see that KDB again. And I think if you can get to KDB this week, even if you don't cap him, you captain Salah. Brilliant shout if you can make that transfer. And look, there's a lot out there that are perhaps looking at selling a Harry Kane to allow KDB to get in their team. That's something I guess I could consider. I'm not, because I don't think selling Kane for 4-point hit is a great shout. But if you can get KDB, consider it. Let's have a look at my team. So I've got the doublers ready and set and ready. I've not made my transfer yet, but I've got a bit of money in the bench, and I've got 4 options, guys. I'm really keen to get, Dean, your take, and in the chat, let me know what you think we could do. Please don't suggest in the chat, because I've had it on Twitter all week. Please do not suggest Aston Villa or Everton players. I know why you're suggesting them, because they've got doubles. But remember, I am free hitting in 37. I don't need Aston Villa and Everton players now, because I'll have them all in 37, right? And the doubles in 37 are better than in 36 anyway. So loads of people have told me to buy Richarlison and get Son or whatever instead of Kane. But no. My options, I want to add either a Liverpool player or a City player to my team, right? Or I do a boring goalkeeper transfer. My original plan was I was going to sell Reece James because I didn't think he'd play against Leeds, and I'm still not sure. And I was going to go boring and buy like a Laporte. But now, and then I went to maybe I sell Havertz because he might not start both games. But Tuchel has said training was really good this week. The fact that Havertz has still been the go-to guy over the last few months, I think he plays both. I think he needs Havertz firing ahead of the cup final. He doesn't trust Lukaku quite clearly. He doesn't trust Werner quite clearly. So I was going to go Havertz to possibly a Liverpool midfielder. Now I've got a third Liverpool spot available. Do I go Diaz? Do I go Jota? Then I was looking at it going, do I really want to sell Havertz, one of these guys that might get the same amount of minutes or even fewer? When Foden plays Newcastle at home, that was the game I wanted him for, but off the back of 120 minutes, I now am considering selling Foden instead of Havertz, right? So I could still get that same Liverpool midfielder, because Foden and Havertz allow me to spend 8.3 million, of which I think Jota is 8.3 million. So I'm looking at Jota over Diaz, I think, for Foden. And my other final idea is I go boring and I just sell Ramsdale, because I could go Ramsdale to Schmeichel, who has a slightly better double.
Interesting. I mean, look, Diaz, the way he came into that game the other day against Villarreal and the impact he had, do you know what? He's almost more important than Salah and Mane at the moment for me. Like, he is having such an impact. I think he's the best January transfer we've ever seen in the Premier League in terms of what he's brought to a team, particularly at the top end. Like before now, I might have said Bruno Fernandes, something like that. But
yeah, or Vidic and Evra, but that was kind of defender moves. So.
Yeah, but for a player, there was no space to be had in that Liverpool front line.
Yeah.
And Diaz has gone in there. And he's like,
ridiculous.
Well, I need to play. So where am I going to play? And they're like, oh, yeah, you're actually really, really good. And look, Jota, until he arrived, was absolutely nailed on. He broke up the Firmino, Salah Mane, like certainty. And really impressive. It took him a long time to do it, though. And not a long time, but longer than it's taken Diaz.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling Diaz might start.
Yeah.
I know everyone's in the chat saying that Jota starts both, but I don't know. Diaz is so good.
Diaz definitely starts the cup final against Chelsea, right? The cup final front three against Chelsea almost certainly will be Mane down the middle. It'll be Salah on the right, Diaz on the left. So with that in mind, the midweek fixture for me is probably a Diaz rest because he tends not to play. He tends to rest Diaz before a big game where he's starting Diaz. So the Champions League games, Diaz has been starting them all. He then usually is benched the Premier League game before. I think probably because he's not fully up to pace with playing Premier League football 2-3 times a week, right? Coming from a slower paced league. So he's been protecting Diaz. Mane also needs a rest. So if Diaz is missing one game and Mane is potentially missing one game, knowing they're both going to have to play the final, does Jota come into both those teams? So I think Jota maybe has a slightly better chance of expected minutes, but Diaz definitely would be my preferred option if someone told me they were both going to get 160 or 150 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if Diaz comes on for half hour, I'm still fancying him to do damage against these teams. Like when you're worn down as a defender and Diaz is coming on, that's painful. And, you know, both Tottenham and Aston Villa have definitely got flaws that they'll look to exploit. I'll be honest, I don't think you're going to go too wrong. Like you can toss a coin and go with one of them. We're all guessing here.
And you'd sell Foden over Havertz for this knowing expected minutes, you think?
I think I would, yeah.
Yeah, for the Liverpool midfielder. Guys, loads have got thoughts on this. So let's bring a few of you up. So look, Mahrez says Randomus. I think Mahrez is going to get more minutes than Foden in the double, knowing he played 78 minutes or something in the week. But again, could Sterling play on the right this week? Could we see a front three of Grealish?
Just don't trust the Mahrez selection. I just don't know I don't know. Game. He's had a good, really, really good season, but he doesn't start a lot of the time. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what his use is at the moment.
D-Trez17, would you swap James for Laporte? Look, that was my original planned idea. It was James to Laporte, but even if James plays one game, James versus Wolves has a ceiling of 20 points. So even if Laporte gets 180 minutes, what am I going to get? 12 points best case? I could get that 12 just from the Wolves fixture from Reece James because of the attacking potential. Also, game week 38, Reece James plays Watford at home. I want, with 38 in mind, I want my 3 Chelsea assets. They play Watford on the final day at Stamford Bridge. That could be a big scoreline. Yeah, true. Garav, what do you think to this, Dean? Bench Kulu or go Broja to Nketiah? Because that's something you're considering, bringing someone like Nketiah in.
Yeah, well, since I hadn't considered Nketiah until it was brought up a minute ago. And now I'm thinking about that Leeds game. It is making sense to me. Yeah, do it. Go Broja to Nketiah. Broja's done nothing. I think since in January, he was hyped up so heavily. Yeah. You know, going back to Chelsea, going with Arsenal, going here, going there, everywhere. He's got 1 goal, I think, since January transfer market closed.
I was definitely one that got caught up in the Broja hype. I think I compared his running with the ball to Haaland.
Look, he's a very, very good footballer, and there are, you know, he's going to be a very good fit for another team next season. There's no doubt about it. But right now,
he's not ready.
He's not probably getting you many points this weekend, just the way I'd look at it.
Yeah. Guys, thank you for watching. We've still got another 10 minutes left. Look, we're going to answer as many of your questions as we can. We've also got a cool feature called Against the Obvious. And if you're new around here, you're going to enjoy that feature very much. But look, please do give us a thumbs up because we want more people to see this stream. We're new. We're new to FPL YouTube, right? This is a new channel. Dean and I have been doing this show for 3-4 months. We really want to continue it next season. So help us do that by supporting us, by hitting that subscribe, hitting that like button. And yeah, we go live every Monday at 7. Usually Fridays at 7 p.m. UK time as well. We've gone a little bit later. Instead of Friday night, we've gone Saturday morning today. But yeah, we'll be back on Monday at 7, so make sure you join for that as well. Mark's got a question on Kane, Havertz, Mount. Okay, so selling 2 Chelsea and Spurs to bring in Son, KDB and Nketiah. I mean, look, Mark, I don't mind those moves. If you're on a wild card, you probably do go Son, KDB and Nketiah. But I'm guessing those moves are going to cost you 8 points, possibly 4 if you've rolled a transfer the week before. I wouldn't be taking hits to sell Havertz, Mount and Kane, and therefore I'd stick with your 3 unless you're I wouldn't be taking hits unless you're massively set on you need to captain KDB or you need to captain Son. If you believe you're bringing a player in that you have to captain, the 4-point hit is way more justified, right? But if you're just captaining Salah regardless, stick with your team.
Yeah, there's actually a really good stat on Son that I saw. He scored 19 Premier League goals this season, and none of them have come from the penalty spot. So if he hits 20, he'll be the first player to do that without a penalty since Gareth Bale did it in 2013. He's going to do it, isn't he? Like you're going to see Son do that. So it's something to bear in mind. Like that's
will he get pens, Dean? Do you think if he's chasing the golden boot, he's 3 behind Salah at the moment, and he's 1 behind Salah, and they get a penalty and they're 3-0 up? Would Kane give it to Son, his buddy?
I think so. Yeah, I do. If they were 3-0 up.
Yeah.
If it was 0-0, no.
Yeah, and Kane's still got records of his own to chase.
Yeah, Kane's got his own records.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff, guys. Right, coming up, we have got. Check this out. If you're new around here, I think you're going to enjoy it. It's against the obvious.
Okay, yeah. So after talking about how good Tottenham are, let's look at why you should not necessarily have Harry Kane in your team this weekend. This is a gamble, of course it is. But look, Harry Kane in the last 6 games only scored 1 goal in the Premier League. You look through his points in the last 3 game weeks. He's got a 6, a 2, and a 2. Like, it's fine. It's not great, especially for a guy that's going to cost you so much of your budget. Let's look too at some of the stats going into Liverpool against Tottenham tonight. Liverpool have only lost 1 of their last 27 Premier League home games against Tottenham. And they are unbeaten in 21 Premier League home games. Kane's record, he's going to drop off in this game. Like, I can see Kane getting an assist against Liverpool. I'm not sure that I can see much beyond that. And then it's the North London derby. Like, he'll score 1 goal, I think, in the North London derby. I don't think this is a week when Harry Kane goes to town and is getting you like 20 odd points.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, look, Harry Kane's a popular asset. People think he's got a double. It's Kane. He's due. You're not necessarily saying Harry Kane's a bad pick. You're saying there's probably better options. Like Son's the standout option, isn't he? Like if you're if you've given the choice, you go Son all day long. And look, I think that's what the chat are agreeing with. FPL River, Son is the Spurs asset of choice. By the way, guys, he's cheaper than Kane as well. Right? Yeah. He gets more points every time he scores a goal because he's a midfielder, and he's cheaper, and he gets a clean sheet point. And Kane is, as you're right, like against Liverpool, Dean, we're going to see Kane quite deep, aren't we?
I think we are. Yeah. Look, to bite back at my own stats here, like Kane actually does have a pretty good record against Liverpool. Just for those of you that have already got him and are like tied to him, like Kane has been involved in 9 goals in 13 Premier League appearances against Liverpool. And 5 of those have been 7 games at Anfield. So at Anfield, he's got 4 goals and an assist. Like, they are a team that he actually does tend to have joy against. So there is a possibility that he does perform despite me trying to play him down.
Good stuff.
Your turn, mate.
I've gone for someone a little bit perhaps easier to manage in Coutinho. So look, there's reasons why you shouldn't pick Coutinho, and I'm going to give you a fair few of them in the next 60 seconds. So look, guys, Coutinho hasn't returned since game week 28, which was a double where he got 23 points, and everyone thought, yeah, he's back. Blank, 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 blank. And look, the FPL community and their dog jumped on Coutinho last week for Norwich. And I was delighted to see 75 minutes, 3 points, a blank. I didn't go there, and I'm telling you, you shouldn't be going there this week. Sure, he has a double. He has a double-double. The double this week, is it that good? I don't think so. Burnley, tough opposition. Liverpool, as hard a fixture as you can get. Look, in 37, Coutinho's worth considering. For 36, don't do it. We're seeing Ings and Watkins in the front two now with Bailey injured. I don't think that even... I think you look at Ings and you look at Watkins if you think Villa are going to score, but are they going to score big in those two fixtures in 36? No, they're not. If you want Villa, look at Cash, look at Dean, look at Watkins. Coutinho's not your boy. Swerve him, despite the masses on Twitter going there.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting. And Coutinho does need to deliver before the end of the season if they're going to sign him permanently, surely. But this Burnley game is not as easy as it looks on paper and as easy as it would have been a few weeks back. They're unbeaten in their last 4 Premier League matches under Michael Jackson, who's the interim boss. Barely anyone's managed that ever in Burnley's history. And Burnley, they've got a good record against Aston Villa. Villa have won just 1 of 26 away league games against Burnley. 1. They do not travel well in this fixture at all. They won 2-1 in 2020, and that's it. That's all they've got from the last 26 games at Burnley in terms of wins.
Mental.
19 defeats along the way. So, yes, it looks like a pretty fixture for Villa, but they haven't been in great form. They won last time out, but they haven't been in great form before that. Coutinho hasn't been flying at all. And Burnley are fighting for their lives. Villa don't really have anything to play for. So, yeah, be wary on that one.
Guys, we have got 10 minutes left of the show, so we're going to try and do 10 questions. We're going to do some quick fire questions. Dreaming FPL, we'll do, perhaps I'll take one, Dean will take one. We'll do alternate. So look, Dreaming FPL, guys, keep your questions short-ish if you can, because these long ones are so hard for me to get my head round. Robbo to Matip, Havertz to Son from -4. Okay, yeah, don't mind those moves at all. Yeah, I like those moves. Or go boring with Ramsdale to Edison for free. I like both options, but I do think Matip, he could play one and Konate could play one. Although Konate might play the final. He seems to be the cup guy. Plays in the champs a lot. I'd probably go boring then, just in case Matip misses one. And look, Robbo for 37 and 38 is way better than Matip. Havertz could still go big against Wolves.
Probably not worth it, to be honest.
Yeah, go Edison for free. I actually don't like Arsenal for clean sheets anymore as well. For those selling Ramsdale, which I still might do, I'm either selling Foden to Jota or I'm selling Ramsdale to Schmeichel. I'm doing that transfer in the next half an hour. Yeah, I don't love Arsenal defence.
No, fair.
Okay, up next for Dean. Hi, guys. Would you do Robbo to Dewsbury Hall? Okay.
That threw me.
Dewsbury Hall. Yeah, Dewsbury Hall to Tavares and Mahrez for a hit. Or
Robbo and Dewsbury Hall to Tavares and Mahrez for a hit, or just Hall to a midfielder. I don't think I would take a hit to get Mahrez in my team.
Yeah,
Tavares, especially once. No. Or just Dewsbury Hall to a 5.6 midfielder. Yeah, I mean, if you're desperate to get rid of Dewsbury Hall, I mean, like, you have to do that.
Go Gordon, 4.6.
Yeah. Actually, would go Gordon. Actually, yeah. I mean, so much on the line, decent fixtures. He's been as good as anyone in the Everton team. Could definitely play. Yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, he's a player. Cameron Starr, Gianni, need some advice. Triple Spurs. Yeah, I like those triple Spurs. Try to avoid Salah to make up some ground. Oh, that's bold. Yeah,
it is very bold.
This is the time in the season when you're looking at your mini league rivals and you need to do things that perhaps they're not doing. Now, one thing they're almost certainly not doing is going out without Salah. So if you think you can get some marginal gains there by going big on a team like Spurs, I don't hate it. Game week 38, Spurs play Norwich. You could get huge returns there from if they're still playing for the 4th spot and they need a win.
Yeah.
And look, goal difference could even play a factor in top 4 this season.
Yeah.
I don't mind that move, triple Spurs. And I think Spurs score in both the fixtures and the double. I know when we look at it on paper and see Liverpool and Arsenal, they're 2 hard games, but Spurs are scoring goals. So they'll score against Liverpool, I think, tonight. And I think they'll score against Arsenal too in the London derby.
Yeah, that seems to make sense to me. FPL Geek, would you bring in Cancelo to double up on City defence with Laporte, or bring in Richarlison for his back-to-back double game week? Ooh. Richarlison back-to-back does sound tempting.
2 away games this week and then 2 home for Richarlison. So he's got, but the 4 fixtures are all right. Leicester, Watford, Brentford, Palace.
They really are all right. And he is the only person you can actually rely on for goals at the moment in that Everton team.
Yeah.
I'll be on Richarlison.
Yeah.
I think that's the one story coming out of this episode today, is that Richarlison is probably going to be a very good asset going forward. Now we consider 2 back-to-backs, especially at a time when Everton are fighting for their lives and actually now have a decent chance of getting out of it.
Yeah, I think the one player I'm really jealous of not owning this week is Richarlison. And I'll have him in 37 for the free hit. But Leicester, who are tired coming back from Rome, and then Watford against his old club. I actually think, Dean, you might end up doing another 4-point hit for Werner to Richarlison, because Werner to Richarlison allows you an extra game, probably an extra game this week, because Werner will probably only play in 1, and then an extra game next week. So your 4-point hit's probably justified. Let's look at the fixtures.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that is true.
So Everton, look, he plays, when is Richarlison's first game? So he plays Sunday, Wednesday. Not great recovery time, but he'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And I know they've been dreadful away from home, but at some point that's got to change. Leicester have been poor at home. So the Everton fighting for their lives. I could see a draw against Leicester and I could see a big win against Watford. So I think they get 4 points.
Watford will be down, but Watford down. So yeah, I absolutely can see that happening. I think, a lot of people are suddenly going to be jumping on Richarlison here. Captain Richarlison to push for top 100k. I mean,
that is big.
That is pretty big. But I don't know about captain. It's probably a bit much. Have him in your team is by all means. Because I don't think that, in the wider world, I don't think that many people are going to be jumping on Richarlison. But that would be a huge gamble.
I tell you when you might captain in Nuclear Atoms is game week 37. When you look at the teams doubling in 37, your Palaces, your Villas, your Evertons. Everton have got the standout fixtures, 2 home games, Brentford, Palace. I think you captain Richarlison in game week 37 when the likes of Salah and KDB and Son all have a single game week. Omar, Havertz out for a -4 or keep. Keep him, Omar. Watford on game week 38 might be enough reason alone to keep Havertz.
Yeah.
At home against Watford, where he was dead and buried.
Yeah, interesting.
New owners in town, new owners perhaps in the stadium.
Yeah.
I think you keep him.
Yeah. Interesting. There's not been too much talk so far about Aston Villa and Ollie Watkins. Watkins is one that I brought him in the week before last, I think.
You got a goal from him straight away, didn't you?
Yeah, got a goal out of him. And I just think that this is it. Burnley and Liverpool, I can see he's the guy he's probably the only guy in that team I trust at the moment. I think Gerrard really likes him too. So it'd be interesting to see how many other people have jumped on Ollie Watkins with.
Most went Coutinho because of the fixtures, but Watkins, you're right, he's the one you trust. And didn't Watkins score big against Liverpool a few years ago? When they went on 7-0, didn't they? Villa against Liverpool at Villa Park. It was a massive result. Was it during lockdown?
Right. Yeah, I think there was a weird one, wasn't there? Yeah, there was. And then thinking beyond that for Ollie Watkins, I know there have been a couple of people saying I don't see why people would get any Villa assets. Well, it's because in week 37 you got home games against Palace and Burnley. Again, Ollie Watkins will surely score in those games, at least one of them. So yeah, that's one that I just meant to mention that people should be looking out for.
Yeah, I like that tip a lot. Watkins and Richarlison, don't dismiss either. We're going to go super quick fire with these ones. Guys, we've loved all your questions. Sorry we haven't got to all of them, but look, we're going to get through as many as we can in the next 2 minutes. Mount or Maddison? Mount for me. Next question. Yep. This one's for you, Dean. Uploadium. What do you reckon?
Son and Nketiah or Mahrez and Richarlison? Son and Nketiah.
Nice. Zara, good for you to join us. Best replacement for Smith Rowe. I mean, Martinez replaced him in the team. Have you got Saka? If you don't have Saka, I'd stick within Arsenal. If you need to downgrade and save money, I think Gordon for the double-double. Yeah. Set pieces for Gordon.
Yep. Swap Jacob Ramsey for Gordon. Yeah, I don't think there'll be too much between them, to be honest. I'd say, obviously Ramsey's got Liverpool, so he's not going to do great in that game.
Yeah. And he's flagged. He might have a knock, but I think he could play. I think Gerrard's
I'd still say do it, to be honest. Yeah, do it, because Gordon's still going to be a better asset.
I would still at the same time be trying to use transfers on players not like Smith Rowe or Gordon. If you can, guys, be selling your be bringing in players with higher ceilings. Every transfer is so precious. But yeah, I don't mind that move. Ashish on a free hit, Alonso or Richarlison. Oh, I'm going to go... Find a way of getting both, mate. If you can, you're free hit. You can find a way of getting both. I think that's two really good options.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Trevor. This one's for Dean. Robbo Van Dijk.
Robbo to Van Dijk for 2 games. Why?
Yeah, Robbo could still easily... No, Robbo could definitely... I mean, I said earlier, I think Tsimikas plays one of those games, but there's a good chance Robbo still plays both.
Yeah. And if I did switch it, I'm not sure I'll be switching to Van Dijk necessarily.
No.
No, I wouldn't do it.
No. Con John, Pookie to Nketiah for -4.
I don't know about that.
No,
I'm not that confident.
So.
I'm not that confident. Pookie's got West Ham and Leicester.
Right? Yeah, that's an all right double. West Ham are going to be knackered.
Don't do that.
Pookie seems to play with a bit of freedom when Norwich are kind of rooted to the bottom of the table and got nothing to play for. So keep him. Athena, great seeing you guys all the way from South Africa. Love that.
Thanks for joining us from South Africa. Appreciate that.
Yeah, same.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. That was good fun.
Yeah, it was awesome, guys. Thank you. Do leave a like and a subscribe and all that jazz. And look, comment below as well. If we can, guys, if you've got any extra questions, if you drop a comment, not in the chat, but in the comments to this video, we'll try and answer some of those questions before the deadline. So feel free to comment. And before you go, give us a like. But guys, thank you very much for watching. We are back Monday at 7 p.m. UK time. Guys, our Monday shows are awesome. We're looking ahead to the week coming. I'm going to be showing you guys on Monday my free hit draft for 37. That'll be the first time I've published it anywhere. I'm going to be spending a lot of time this weekend putting that together. So join us Monday at 7. Thank you guys for watching. I've been Gianni, he's been Dean, and we've been chasing green arrows.